Now, the South African consumers, they've been hit hard in the last couple of years with high interest rates, the inflation and the ever-increasing high cost of living. Well, the situation has been made worse with the rand being dragged down by high stages of load shedding. These factors will surely impact on government's National Development Plan, which is the country's guide aimed at eliminating poverty and reducing inequality by the year 2030. Well, to speak to us more about whether or not we are on track to achieve the set targets, we speak now to Minister Maropene Ramokgopa. She's responsible for planning, monitoring and evaluation within the presidency. Minister, good morning to you and thank you for your time. Quite a number of issues that we've got to debate with you a little bit. Let's start with the energy crisis that has become the number one impediment when it comes to attracting investment and, more importantly, creating jobs. With stage 8 looming, Minister, what kind of messaging needs to go out, not just to investors, but the South African population at large?
Good morning, Colleen, and thank you for having us today. That is something that I would have thought that the other Minister Ramokgopa, the Dr. Ramokgopa, would have really answered better for you, because he has put in plans that should be able to at least assist us to deal with all these matters. To the point that indeed we need to look at ways of ensuring that we don't even reach that stage, as much as it looks like we're going there. Because there are many other avenues that maybe we could be able to look at, like going to other countries like Mozambique or our other neighbors who may be able to just give us a bit of megawatts that we need to just destabilize the grid itself, or look at other internal measures that are there, especially at Eskom. So my view in this matter, which is not something that I do on a daily basis, I only come in when we assess the plans and the performance of different departments on matters such as this one, and for the fact that, of course, I sit on the NECOM as well. Ours would just be to say that we need to look at the internal capacity and what is it that we can do to do our best to ensure that we don't reach the stage 8, because it will definitely be a crisis for our country. And I do believe that the Department of Electricity, including Eskom and everyone else in the energy sector as well, they're doing their best to ensure that we don't reach that.
Yeah. Minister, I want to take advantage of the fact that, as you mentioned, you sit in the NECOM structure, which basically includes the Eskom executives. But more importantly, your role in the presidency, it cuts across, or it basically marries with your role in the governing party, because you also do a similar job there of planning and monitoring. The reason I'm picking on messaging, because that's the key question here, that's the operative word, messaging. Your Secretary General in the party, once again this week, says load shedding will be a thing of the past by the end of 2023. Is that messaging meant to reassure the people of South Africa, including investors, or has it become a source of irritation? Do you risk it becoming a source of irritation? Because I think people have lost faith in government's messaging, Minister.
Okay, in my view and my understanding and what I know, including what we discussed in the ruling party, is that indeed load shedding is a challenge. What we are doing right now is to ensure that we manage it so that we don't get to this high stages such as like the stage 8. By the end of 2023, our plan is to make sure that we have been able to stabilize the grid, so that at least if we would be talking about load shedding in South Africa, it should be on the low stages such as stage 2, stage 3, or even stage 1. So that is what we are working on, because it will take quite a very long time to ensure that we stabilize it to the point whereby we'll be, or we won't have load shedding at all. However, what we know and what we are sure of and what we are working on and investing on, as I've already spoken about, examples of going to our neighbors that may be able to assist us in giving us at least enough megawatts to be able to stabilize the grid and lower the stages that we're in. That's exactly what I know, and I do believe that the SG, when he was addressing the media on the matter of load shedding, he was referring to that. A lot has been done. A lot has been put in place. Yes, indeed, it might irritate the citizens because it affects their livelihood, it affects their quality of life, it affects the economy, it affects businesses from big and small, and no one wants to hear we will lower the stress that you have. They want to hear the stress must go all together. And therefore, as a result, I would like to support, of course, what the SG is saying, but I would like to just add the point that indeed ours is to reduce the load on the grid so that we don't have to have these high stages of load shedding.
Minister Ramokgopa, I'm going to ask for your indulgence here a little bit.
Okay.
I think that Mr. Mbalula has acted irresponsibly here. You sit at NECOM, you understand where things are when it comes to our energy crisis. It's an irresponsible statement to have made that load shedding will be ended by 2023, December. That's an irresponsible statement, is it not?
I would not say that it's a statement that can be put as you're saying. I would say it's actually probably something that I would say it's a vision that we have and something that we would like to do as the ruling party. Therefore, whatever it is that government is doing and the deployees of the ANC are doing, we'll have to work towards that. I think it was not irresponsible in my view, but it was more on looking at what we should be able to do and what we should all be working towards. We shouldn't only just work towards reducing the stages, but we should work towards making sure that load shedding becomes the thing of the past. However, because of the reality of the material conditions that we find ourselves in, we will have to concentrate on just making sure that in whatever it is that we do, we lower the stages. So that would be my answer to you. And I would rather say that, rather have another interview with the Secretary General of the ANC so that he can unpack the statements that he has made and put more a direction and context in what he was saying. That's my answer to you, Colin.
Well, if you can get them to, or get him to come to our show, we'll be happy to have him, Minister. Let's then focus the attention on the National Development Plan, whose target is 2030. Part of what that document says is that developing policy in a dynamic global environment can have positive implications for South Africa's development. But I want to focus the attention on municipalities. The picture that has been painted there, not just by the Auditor General, but even by the President himself, is not a glowing one. Something is going terribly wrong there. What needs to be done so that by 2030 we're able to at least achieve some of what this visionary document says?
Indeed, we are really concerned ourselves as the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, or Planning and Monitoring and Evaluation, precisely because we have realized that a number of our municipalities are not really doing well as they are supposed to do, most especially because they are at the cold phase of what service delivery is supposed to do. What we need to do and what we are planning to do and have started to put in place is to ensure that we do coordination of service delivery, that especially the service delivery that finds itself being implemented mostly at the local municipality level. We are doing that by ensuring that we do coordinate it, by ensuring that through the DDM, the district development model, we do bring everybody else together to support municipalities, but to also, to a certain extent, ensure that we do implement service delivery also from the departments from national level as well. But we will not do that outside of the prescripts of policy and prescripts of the constitution and all the other acts that are there guiding all the spheres of government. But we are ensuring that coordination is done through an integrated system that would be able to not just say that municipalities should just be given money and resources to implement, but we should also give them the capacity and the support that they need. Obviously, the issue of restructuring of their grading system that affects most of the time their financial sustainability. We are working on that, coordinating with the Department of Treasury or Finance as well as COCTA, and also ensuring that all the other service delivery points, such as human settlement, Department of Water, Department of Electricity, of course, do get to coordinate all their efforts to ensure that if we have to go and implement directly, I'll give you an example. The Department of Water, for example, does do issues of infrastructure as it relates to water, but the municipalities reticulate. So even if they can do their work and put systems in place in terms of infrastructure, it is the capacity in the municipality that needs to reticulate so that the end user, which is a customer, should be able to get that water. If we are going to go to municipalities, there are municipalities that we have identified, and COCTA has also identified as well, to say that these municipalities seem to be having challenges as it relates to making sure that water gets to the end user. We are going to go directly with our own capacity from the national level to ensure that we intervene. So that's what we will be doing from now on. We've been able to sit down with ministers, different ministers, and I think we did say that in the previous interviews that we had, to say that what are the priorities that can be able to help us to move the needle. And that was conducted obviously by the President, the Deputy President, and ourselves, of course, giving support. And we've been able to identify those departments that we think must go directly to municipalities with their capacity, with their resources, for service delivery to actually find expression. And that's what we are doing. That's what we are trying to put in place to be able to improve the functionality and the better operation of our municipalities.
All right. Very briefly on this last question, Minister Ramokgopa, earlier I touched on policy in a dynamic global environment. Part of what the NDP says is that understanding and responding appropriately to complex global challenges is the first task of planning. Do you think that we have responded appropriately to the global challenge that faces countries of the world as brought on by the Russia-Ukraine crisis, specifically for South Africa? Do you think that we've responded appropriately in this ongoing war?
I honestly believe that we have responded appropriately, because ours is not to take side. Ours is to ensure that the rule-based institutions that are there globally, such as the UN, must be at the center of conflict management. And it is for this reason that we are saying that we continue to say that negotiations must take place led by the UN, not by anybody else, so that whatever it is that should be the outcome of what is happening in Russia and Ukraine should then now find expression in the rules of the UN itself. And I'm saying this precisely because once you start taking sides, you might find that the solution that we need for this, and not only this thing of Russia and Ukraine, but all over the world, whether you're talking about Israel and Palestine, whether you're talking about here at home, Morocco and Western Sahara, it should be done by a body that has got what it takes to be able to be fair, but also to ensure that the rule base that has been put in place for everyone to work under should then now be adhered to. So negotiation using the diplomatic platforms, I do believe was the correct way of doing things. And the fact that there is an African-based solution that has been put in place, coordinated by different head of states, of course, where South Africa is also there. And that is also been appreciated by Russia and Ukraine itself, including the Secretary General of the UN. I do believe that we have taken the right decision, and it is starting to show fruits. So I believe that we have taken the right decision.
Maropene Ramokgopa is Minister in the Presidency for Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Thank you very much for your time.